what was the sense of hope that you had that got you from the point of not going through with unaliving yourself, walking through the trauma of, breaking up with a really good partner, walking through the trauma of coming out into a world that was not ready for you at that time, still. What was the sense of hope that got you through?
I mean, the sense of hope is seeing many of my sisters so far down, or many trans kind, meeting so many trans kind, and just number one, seeing that it was possible. Because at that point, it's just like, I don't know if I can do it.
Right.
You know, I don't know if I can do it, but I have to do it. So that gave me hope.
Yeah.
Second, the other thing that gave me hope is yes, I was every week quite religiously seeing a gender therapist, and it kind of helped keep me on my path.
Good.
And third, during this process, I started to develop some, I would call them like trusted friendships. That those were the friends that I had that I could be vulnerable with. And so it's kind of a mixture of all those things. We need support. We need to advance our cause. We need to heal, and then we need that camaraderie together. And sometimes, what we do have to realize about the camaraderie, all of us have our really difficult stuff. We all have our trauma, our different, and so sometimes for me, the hardest thing was understanding that as I went through the community, and I'm at a very raw point in my transition, that understanding, oh, by the way, though my bigger sisters are further along than they have their issues as well. Sure. I'm just more seeing it as like this, gold standard, like, oh my God,
exactly,
they're living full time,
right? Yes.
And they've had their surgeries, and that's what I want to do, and I don't have it, and how am I going to do it?
Right.
But I think through all this time, I developed some very close friends, and those friendships ended up being really key. That's what really gave me the hope.
Awesome.
Because giving that hope is just knowing I had a home with the right people. We call them our adopted or extended, whatever you want to call it. But they did. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But it plays a very important part. And I think it was there's no way I could do it without it. So I think in a way, we're all kind of standing on each other's shoulders, or propping each other up, or falling backwards and going forward,
Exactly. Well said. Well said.
Yeah, I want to mention one thing because me and Tawni became so close. What she just mentioned is support, and everyone has their own traumas or depressions. So when I was in my depression, she was the only one came to my room at the time and knocked on my door.
Oh.
Yes, so I was very cool. At that time, I feel so embarrassed of myself, ashamed, and I actually pushed her out. I said, I don't want to see anybody right now.
Wow.
But because of that, we built up a very strong friendship.
Wow.
And when she said she can share vulnerable, that's why we're still doing after all these years.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm very appreciate you doing that. So give me hope at the same time too.
Yes, that was part of your hope.
Yeah, that's part of my hope because I couldn't see how at that time I couldn't see how I'm gonna dig myself out of that depression.
Yes, so. Exactly.
You say you've been through all that struggling and then become a full-time girl, and then you went through your operation as well. So can you share that experience with the audience?
Sure. It's a pleasure.
Because I've been asking about doctors and seeking what I want to do myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think to ask some girls or sister that been through that experience is
definitely
perfect. Ideally,
exactly.
So
okay, how would you? I mean, there's so many aspects of this, but I'll just share how I did my surgeries, and I'll talk about the first one. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as of date, I've had 3 of the major surgeries, which is bottom surgery, or we could call it gender affirming surgery, SRS. It has a
Right.
whole bunch of names. But second, I've had the breast augmentation, and I've had facial surgery, facial feminization surgery, and lots of stuff done to my face. And then as well, point of personal honesty to I'm wearing a hairpiece, but I also had hair transplant surgery,
Okay.
and that's coming along amazingly. And I'm hoping maybe in a year or two I will no longer be wearing my hairpiece.
Nice.
Wow.
Very
So
cool.
I want to go back to my first surgery,
Okay.
and I think that's maybe the heart of the matter, is that we all experience our gender, and we all experience our body dysphoria in a very unique way. For me, I intensely experienced it that I needed bottom surgery.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't experience to the point where maybe I wanted to self-harm or
Right.
self-mutilate,
Good.
but there's people who experience it like even that intensely.
Exactly.
But I didn't experience it that way, but I experienced it that I always fantasized about having, can I say it on here?
You can.
I always fantasize about having a vagina.
Yes.
I always fantasized about it. And so when I started the transitional process, it's like, I can't explain it, but it's like this primordial drive was in me to do it. And so in 2017, though I'd been only living a short time full time, maybe 6 months, and my health insurance coverage was on a clock. It was called the Cobra because I'd been laid off.
Yes.
And so I was on a 6-month clock. So I went and did a consult actually in Arizona with one of the big doctors at the time, Dr. Meltzer. It's even stranger. His co-practitioner's name is Dr. Lay, and she's an incredible doctor, but unusual name. I may put it that way.
I love it.
I won't go anywhere with that, but anyway, when I did that first consult, all I can tell you is something, I would say maybe my confidence in the need was maybe like 90% confidence, 10% doubt. I did the consultation and I came away. The consultation to me, again, was like this rite of passage, religious experience.
Right.
I have to have the surgery. I know beyond any doubt in my mind. And that's the point. But I wasn't ready to have it, okay? I knew in my heart. So on the one hand, it gave me mentally, spiritually, or whatever you want to transitionally speaking, I didn't have doubt that I needed that surgery and I needed it as soon as I could do it. What ensued was really, I had to go through the next steps of my journey, which was really extricating myself from the house that my ex and I were in, selling it, moving out and moving to West Hollywood where I lived, where I had a small apartment. But all in that time period, what happened with me was very coincidentally and through Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles, at the end of 2017, just started their transgender care program. So I did a consult with the doctor there, and they had no waiting list. They had a 6-month waiting list.
Wow.
Which, for like some of the top doctors, that waiting list can be a year to 5 years.
Exactly.
That's a lot of waiting when you really, really, really know you need it. So I did a consult in March of 2018, and then I got a surgical date of October of the same year. And then it's like, oh my God, I have to do electrolysis. How am I going to do this? And so, how am I going to do this in 6 months? And through a reference, I discovered this lady in Beverly Hills who has a form of electrolysis called the multi-point galvanic needle. It's Beverly Hills Hair Free. I'll give the reference. But anyways, the point was she got me there ready in 5 months.
Oh my goodness.
Which is normally a year-long process. Now, it did hurt. Oh, Yes, it hurts.
Oh my God.
It hurts.
Yes,
There's
it
no,
hurts.
you know, but, what I feel what happened is 2018, at one point, October 2018, I moved out of our home. Our home was sold. I moved to West Hollywood. I had a studio apartment. And I was just after all these years of marriage, I'm just getting used to living on my own, which is wild. It's bizarre. It's like,
Yes.
it's happy, it's lonely, it's
Yes.
everything.
All of it.
And I'm living in West Hollywood, which is like, oh my God, I'm in community, but which is like, wait a minute, oh my God, this is crazy. But my original surgery date was right after my move-in. That's pretty aggressive.
Oh, yeah. And was it was it a full year of, I think they called it back then, real life test?
I didn't do that.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
No, actually, no. That's not true. I had been more than a year on HRT. I had been more than a year living time, but it was never. What happened is those standards changed in 2015. Thankfully,
Yes.
so that never. For my case, it didn't apply. All that applied is I needed to be on hormones a year, and I needed to be living on myself, as myself for a year, which I was more than all of that.
Yes,
both.
awesome.
My surgery, because though this lady was great with electrolysis, it wasn't quite ready for that surgical date, so it got kicked back by only 2 months.
Okay.
But that I would lose the surgery date, it was such an emotional thing. I broke down. But it was only, a few months later. It was November 29th, 2018. I got bottom surgery at Cedars, and I was in the hospital. I was visited by so many of my friends within my religious community, which I'm Buddhist.
Okay.
I was visited by so many friends in that community. I was visited by so many friends in the trans community.
Wow.
And it turned out one of my friends in the trans Latina community had surgery the next day. So we started trading visitations people.
Oh,
and it
nice.
was just a surreal moment. It was awesome. It was, I get emotional as I think about it, because even as in Cedars, because the hospital was very full that day, my room turned out to be the VIP room that they give for. So I'm getting this luxury room to recover from bottom surgery.
Nice.
So I'm confined to bed, and all I can do is just enjoy the view.
Exactly. Wow. I can't wait.
I think, but what I would say is it was one part of my voyage to get to the place of having surgery, which takes a lot of determination, a lot of dedication, a lot of, oh my God, it takes everything to get to that point. Yeah, a lot of courage too. Yeah, definitely. And then there's the point of having the surgery, which is one really intense marker point of our life. And then there's kind of the recovery period. And those are 3 totally different experiences,
Wow.
So the last part was the part, because we just, what I would say is I was a little naive because I just had to have the surgery. My mind couldn't comprehend anything else other than having that surgery. And I kind of thought like, well, I'm a tough bitch. I'll just recuperate on my own. That was a mess. So, I had friends who drove me back from the hospital. I had friends who helped me shop. I had somebody else who helped me clean my apartment. But, really for the first first couple of weeks, you can't even drive. For the first few months, you're very restricted physical activity. But more, I had never had major surgery before, and that is one major surgery. And I just had no insight to the depth of the physical change that would go on with me, the mental change, the spirit, the transitional change. The change is incredible, but that post-surgical recovery period, which in all honesty, it takes about a year for everything to settle down. And everything to come back into a new sweet space. But that was a very tumultuous year. That was a very 6 months or 5 months into it, I dipped into a deep, deep post-surgical depression.
Wow.
Like, this is not me. It's not my personality. I think Shelby knows my personality. I'm a people-forward person, but I went into such a deep depression. I turned off my phone and I stopped talking to people,
Wow.
and I just streamed Netflix. And the only reason I went outside is to walk my little doggy. I have a little mini pincher. She's outside now, but that was the only reason I left the house, was to walk my dog. But what I didn't know was, and this is what I want to share, it was a deep point of the surgery. What I didn't understand is that, I just, thankfully I was still seeing my therapist, and she was like, "You're depressed." No, and I was fighting her. No, I'm not. I'm not depressed, but yes, I was depressed.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You should get Prozac. I can't, can't prescribe that. I'm going to ask you to go see your doctor and get Prozac." And I'm like, it was a wake-up call, because I thought, there's no way I'm going to take Prozac. I'm very adverse to medication. I'm very sensitive medication. And especially, I don't want to take a medication that has a risk of an addiction where you just take it and take it. It's like, I didn't want to do that. So I'm like, okay, this is a serious moment. So, okay, I went and made an appointment with my endocrinologist, and it was hard. It was hard to open up. Like, hey, my therapist asked me to come here. This is what's going on. And thankfully, my doctor was extremely experienced with working with trans clients. And this is the message I wanted to share: is he just said, "No, before we do anything, let's get some information." And he goes, "First of all, let's get your hormonal levels, and we're going to figure out where to go from there." But he goes, "But let me explain what's happening with the body." And this is what I want to share with everybody. What's happening with the body is, in essence, the hormone factor in your body, AE, what used to be my testicles, and all that kind of stuff, it's gone. And that's been in your body for over 50 years. And now the rest of your endocrine system is trying to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And your body doesn't know what's going on because it's trying to search for something that's not there. So everybody's different. Everybody handles it different. So in a weird way, the fact that this would happen to you is actually very normal. He goes, "What we're going to do, we'll test your levels, and then we'll figure out a course of action." And so the thing to share is what it really came out is that, all women have a ratio, all cisgender women have a ratio of estrogen to female testosterone. And when my levels came back, that level of testosterone was almost negligible. It didn't exist, or is at the lowest possible part of that band. And he's like, "Okay, we need to add this back. We need to add back a little bit of testosterone into your balance of HRT. And so we're going to do this, but we're going to work out what is the right dosage for your body. It's different for everybody." So, to be honest, thankfully, my doctor was so experienced that he had that maturity, and he could explain it to me in ways that I could understand, because I'm a doctor.
Right.
And second, it was truly a doctor-patient relationship that, I would do it for a while, and it's like, well, I feel like it's too much testosterone now because I'm feeling really aggressive, He's like, "Okay, we're going to lower that, and we'll change this and change that." And so we worked together for a few tries out, and we found the sweet spot.